A number of the projects that we started earlier. As a hockey fan, by the way, the red light thing is just brilliant. You guys may not get it because you're not hockey fans, but it's, when you're sitting in a hockey arena, the only time you know when a goal is scored, it's a very fast game, it's sometimes difficult to see when the goal is scored, is when that red light flashes behind the net, all right, you know a goal is scored. And the idea of putting that in your home, just seeing that go off is just, it's brilliant, it's just brilliant. So continue on fan engagement. Travis Grubbs.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. Full disclosure, I'm in off the bench, so I've come in as an emergency. I was meant to be in the US this week, and as things have happened, I'm heading off next week for a little bit, so I was able to come and help out the guys. So, Creator, following on from Janet, I was at Buzz for 11 years. My co-founder was there for 12 years, and we worked on projects like the Red Light. We're a creative technology company, and ultimately what we're doing is helping big global brands and teams enter that phygital space that Scott was just mentioning, and how can we create digital and physical experiences. One of the big insights from our perspective is around that fans spend billions of dollars every year on anything with their team badge on it. So what was quite unique about the Red Light as a product was it was actually branded with Budweiser. It was a beer promotion that they were selling for $149 plus $50 postage and handling. So sports fans in Canada, this maybe says something about you Canadian, Scott, but we're paying $200 for a beer advertisement in their lounge room. And I think they're up to about $16 million worth of sales now, so it's quite crazy. Lousy beer. So today I want to talk to you about, there's a lot of tech in sport, so part of what I want to share with you guys today is a little bit more futuristic and what we're seeing is happening. Around with so much choice, how do you build a problem statement to get your organisation started? From there, we're going to do a deep dive into a category that we think's in the premiership window, in the sweet spot in the coming years. And then I'm going to show you how we put that into practice through a win the home game session. So digital technology is developing at an incredible rate. We are swamped with the opportunities, and it does feel like a lot of the clients that we're talking to maybe drowning a little bit of where to point the arrow. And I think what we would share with them is, with so much going on, the number one thing not to do is think that you just need a VR strategy or a voice strategy or an AI strategy. You actually need to get really clear on about the delightful experience that you want to create for your fan. Once you hone in on that, then you can start to understand what technology are we going to be able to utilize out of any of these, and plus some that we haven't included, to help you to deliver that experience. So with every project that comes through Creator, we always start with a problem statement. And it's broken down into 4 clear buckets. How can we, what are we looking to deliver? For who, get really tight on who you're targeting, what user group. Located where? Are they in the stadium? Are they in a bar? Are they on the move? Are they at home? So we can do what? This is the KPI. This is something that you can then take to a CFO, CMO, CEO and say, we're going to tackle this, and success for us looks like this. And it's a really clear way also for when you're looking to have multiple innovations through the business to capture everything in a uniformed approach. And it allows you to start to make some decisions around which one is going to be the easiest for us to do and which one is going to deliver the best results for our business. So I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples. A couple of years ago, we were briefed on building a smart football. We're working with the guys at Sharon, Telstra, the AFL, and the brief was around, we want to build a smart football. And we're like, okay, we're going to build you a problem statement first. Problem statement ended up being, how can we allow kids to have more fun through a football interactive experience? This is about green time and screen time. We went really targeted on the age. So if you ever have worked in the kids space, just clumping kids together as kids is never ever going to work. Because what a 4-year-old is going to engage with from a tablet perspective, television perspective, is totally different to what an 8 or 9-year-old is going to do. So you're breaking those up into usually 18 months to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12. So we locked down 9 to 12. It was all about getting them outside, and it was about grow and retain AFL participation. Now, one of the big insights that come out of the workshop we did was most of these kids would already have a football. And as a parent, if you've just spent 50, 60, 100 bucks on a ball, are you then going to want to go and invest another $150 or $200 on a smart ball? So we really looked at, rather than the technology of putting a chip in a ball, we wanted to be able to meet our problem statement. And where we ended up was to be able to retrofit a clip and kick technology, an accelerometer, onto the ball, which then meant you could just count the amount of effective kicks the kids had backwards and forwards. Still giving them that competitive nature that they love, but what it allowed us to do is we always talk about test, fail, fix, scale. Test, fail, fix, scale. We want to test it, we want to break it, we want to fix it up, we want to scale it up. So it's a really low cost. This was a low cost way for us to start to look and test the technology. There's a couple of more here we did. I don't know if anyone saw last Christmas, there was a magic Christmas bauble, so we do stuff outside of sport as well. This was a naughty or nice Christmas bauble that the parent would put on the Christmas tree and magically change it to red if the kid was being naughty, or green if the kid was being nice. So again, the statement, how do we capture the spirit of Christmas for Australian families in their home, create a meaningful connection with consumers? And the last one, I just add this one because I love it. Who here works in an office that has issues with mouldy, stinky lunches being left in the office? When we were at Buzz, we used to have serious issues. It got up to 100 odd staff. And so how can we solve the old issue of mouldy lunches in the fridge for office workers in offices globally? And then how do we monetize it by building a new channel to create impulse purchases for office buyers? So the product ended up being lunch lockers where you had individual lockers that were fresh sealed that you get into by tapping your app on it. And then if you hadn't gone in to get your lunch in 3 days, then you'd actually get an alert. And at the end of the week, if you hadn't been in, the office manager gets an alert so that then we can ensure that the office is always in good stead. So let's get on to sport. And when we want to talk about which tech is in the premiership window? All of them. We believe that there is a place to play with every single one of these, and it seems like unless you've got 2 or 3 letters, you're not a serious player in the tech world right now. But even the guys that have all been up prior to me today have all mentioned one of these within their talks. What I want to do today is go a little bit deeper into one of those areas, which is IoT. For anyone who doesn't know, the Internet of Things is around connecting multiple ranges of devices to the internet so that you can capture data and information. If we go deeper into that category, you have wearables, you have smart cities, you have smart stadiums now. A lot of the precinct stadiums in the US are combining a smart city with a smart stadium. We go into a subcategory of smart home. From there, we're seeing a lot of excitement around the smart speaker category. And then the experiences within those being voice assistants and skills and actions. But remember, we don't want to talk about IoT. And I've actually done a talk that is Nobody Gives Up about the Internet of Things. And I did it at an Internet of Things conference. So you can imagine people seeing that talk headline, and they were very interested to see what I was going to talk about. And realistically, truth be told, when you go to an Internet of Things conference, it is full of people just talking about the Internet of Things. However, the Internet of Things is actually the Christmas bauble, is actually the Budweiser red light. And there's data that's been released this year that of the people who have Internet of Things products, 70% of them are not aware that it's actually an Internet of Things product. So if you asked 85,000 owners of red lights in Canada what the Internet of Things was, it'd be pretty interesting to find out if anyone actually cares. Because what it's about is being able to deliver delightful experiences, but using the tech as the vehicle. So as we spoke about earlier, technology has developed at an incredible rate, but we all now have front row seats onto what happens next. So what I want to do now is share an example, a real life example of how we are working on a product that will deliver technology through all of those elements that we just spoke about, but at no stage will you think it's about the technology, you'll look at the fan product. So, as we know, less than 1% of fans are ever actually in the stadium. So how do we talk to the 99%? The problem statement we built was, how do we create a direct channel, a channel into fans' homes and hearts to talk to the 99%? We got really specific about the user we're after. We're going after the hero host. Now, the hero host is the guy who's going to be the advocate for any product we get into his home. He's probably the guy that's hosting an Origin party tonight. He's also the guy who's probably doing the Melbourne Cup sweep in your office. He's probably got 30 people over for grand final day. He's the guy that we're going after. Down the track, we'll talk about how we can tap into kids market, maybe the wives market, whatever. But for now, we're really focusing on the hero host. This is all about in-home, and our KPIs, we want to entertain, engage, and monetize fans from anywhere in the world. And as Daniel was speaking about earlier, the amount of teams and leagues that we're speaking to now that have as 1, 2, or 3 on their KPI list is around how can we monetize our fans that are on the other side of the world. So we've all talked about, we all know about out-of-home. I used to work at Diageo, so on some big global brands like Johnny Walker and Smirnoff and Guinness, doing sports activations. We used to spend a truckload of money here. The next 5 to 10 years, brands and teams are going to be all about that last link. And so if you're looking at building a through the line campaign, you're going to have shopper marketing, you're going to have on-premise, you're going to have stadium, and the last piece is going to be owning the home. There's certainly a reason why the biggest tech companies in the world are all spending billions of dollars on smart speakers and voice assistants to get placement in your home to be able to talk to you through all different occasions in your life. So we want to show you about how we think you can win the home game using some of the technologies that we've touched on. So where can you play? Well, the obvious one is existing devices. There's a reason why we've all taken liberty at building apps to try and connect with our fans. It's because we all recognise probably 8 or 10 years ago that everyone now's got this thing in their pocket. And so it's a tool and a vehicle for us to build apps to be able to connect with them. From a smart speakers perspective, you're also now finding that in the US alone, I think they've just tipped 120 million smart speakers in people's homes, of which 30% of people who have a smart speaker in their home now have 3 of them. 22% have 2. That's 52% of people who have one of these smart speakers actually have multiple. And that is because you're starting to see that now that these companies have bought out devices with screens, that's something to put in the kitchen. They've bought out a dot, that's something to put in the bathroom or the kids' bedroom. So you're now starting to see people who have adopted smart home are not just buying a speaker, they're buying multiple. Then you look at the accessories, and this, from a category perspective, is going to explode in the next 5 years as well. as people look to build accessories for these devices, just like we all looked at how we could accessorize iPhones 10 years ago. And that's going to start to be devices that can react through voice with a Google Home or an Amazon Echo or an Apple HomePod as the hub, the technology hub. But I've seen things like kid stories on Amazon Echo where then there's ancillary devices that are reacting in real time to the story for the kids. And the third part is dedicated devices. So what's actually happening now is we all see an Amazon Echo or a Google Home as the product and the voice element of that as the hero of that product. What's now happening is pretty much anyone who's building consumer electronics products are building voice assistants in, not as the product, but as a feature of that product. And we as consumers are all going to expect that you'll be able to ask a device something in the next 5 years. The biggest growth is going to come from televisions. So smart TVs, you will find in 5 years you will not have a remote control. And I can't wait because I've got a smart TV in the bedroom. I know it's bad feng shui, but it's only 8 years old or something. But whenever we have a crash on Foxtel or anything like that, not Foxtel actually, that doesn't crash, on Netflix, we have to go through that process, with the, yes, you already know my pain, don't you? Up and down scrolling to put your details in. And first world problems, I know, but it takes 2 or 3 minutes and it frustrates the hell out of me. And so soon I'm just going to be able to say, travisjcrullers@gmail.com, Trapper1, away we go. Dedicated devices, I think we'll also start to see some really exciting things around, let's say, a wine fridge. So we've done some development work on a wine fridge with a voice assistant. So I have you guys over to my house for dinner, and let's say we're having salmon, and I'm going to be able to talk to the fridge and ask it which wine we should have, which pairs with salmon. It's going to highlight the 3 or 4 wines that match. It's then going to give us a little bit of a chat around why this wine's good, what regions it's from. And then my mate Dave drinks the whole bottle on me, and he's going to be able to reorder it. So it'll be a full replenishment system. So momentum is really building in this space. You can see, I won't go through all of them, but 50% of online searches will be voice-based by 2020. It's kind of a big deal. 55, this is US, 55% of households are expected to own a smart speaker device by 2022. However, what's happening right now is a lot of the interactions with voice assistants are very, very transactional. The main thing that people are asking is to play music. So they're being used as speakers predominantly. But then following on from that, the next is asking about the weather. And then it's setting a timer. And then it's asking for the news. What needs to happen and what is about to happen is these devices need to start to talk to you about the things that you care about. Because I liken it to going to an event like this or a party where you meet someone, and imagine if you met someone a couple of times and all they kept talking about was the weather, which I've noticed that a lot of Brisbane people do, but fair enough. So we are going to have to find people's passions and ways to connect with them if they're going to continue to have conversations and ongoing interactivity with voice assistants. So part of what we're looking at is what are the things that people care about in their home, and then how could you create experiences for them that is talking to them about things that they care about. So from a sport and entertainment perspective, we think that that's probably the richest territory. From an in-home, you look at food, so cooking. Imagine a Gordon Ramsay head in your kitchen that told you it's time to chop the fucking onions. Or the wine fridge I spoke of. Or a garden gnome that says, hey, it's cracking weather. It's probably a great day to plant some tomatoes. Do you want some tomatoes and fertiliser sent from Bunnings? And then we look at sport, which obviously we're all here for, and we think that sport is the most fertile territory. So if we look at one of the products right now that we're doing product testing around, is around the fact that products embedded with technology have changed the world, including sport. And IoT means that consumer products are now multi-layered for multi-experience. There are 5 billion sports fans globally. Today they spend $24 billion a year on merchandise. That's anything with their team badge on it. It's been proven that they spend between 35 and 40% more for exactly the same product as soon as their team badge gets stuck on it. That is set to double to $48 billion in the next 5 years. It's a big market. So what if you could turn the products that fans spend billions of dollars on, that shows their pride and passion for their team, into an fan engagement tool that means La Liga or FC Barca or Budweiser can now talk to a fan about things that they love in their home. As we said, a direct channel into fans' homes and hearts. So here's the first version of our product. So this is the smart speaker for sports fans. And a fully modular base. So that Manchester City top will actually clip on and off. So there is an All Blacks version, there's an FC Barca version, there's a Richmond Tigers version, there's a cricket for IPL version. It could be a mascot, or it could be a garden gnome, or it could be a Gordon Ramsay head. So the technology and the platform that delivers this experience can be anything that's a passion point that someone in their home wants to talk to you about. One of the big challenges we have right now is when we looked earlier at the Maya Christmas Bauble and the Budweiser red light, both of them had one thing in common. They were magically simple. So part of what we're working through right now is what's the one killer thing that when someone gets out of ice, they're going to say to their buddy, hey, I got this Manchester City thing and so we're working through that right now. And some of the things we're looking at is the conference call of sport, meaning me and my buddies never have to text each other during a match again. We're just going to chat through this device. Or is it an in-game voice betting device? Or is it the ultimate fantasy football device? Or is it a way that you can have friendly wagering with your buddies? So there's lots of exciting things that we're currently working through now from an MVP perspective. From a team's perspective, the big difference from these kind of products as dedicated devices are that this is a fan-first device. So fans will opt in and allow us to start the conversation. So right now you have to say, hey Google or Alexa, tell me about Budweiser. It's a bit like expecting someone to be watching a game of sport and asking the television to play them a commercial. It's probably not going to happen. So why do we care about this? Well, it's building fan love, both locally, but the really exciting thing is that all of the teams who have KPIs right now around connecting with international fans will have a direct voice into fans' homes and to be able to create exclusive content for your fans that are maybe only in Russia. And then we can talk to brands in Russia. So ideally, you then start to have a smart speaker that might be in little Benny's bedroom where on Thursday night he's not going to sleep, but for 99 cents you can buy a bedtime story where he kicks the winning goal of the grand final. Or you might be able to opt in on grand final day to have a first goal scorer. Then there's new inventory that it provides for sponsorship, and you can also sell tickets and merchandise through it. So it's a really exciting time for connecting in home. We're all a little bit impatient with voice assistants right now. They are clunky still, and you can talk to Alexa and she'll tell you, I'm sorry, I don't understand 4 times in a row, and then you'll kick it to the curb. However, if you think back to 10 years ago and where we were with apps, and apps were being built by people who could build them. Then creative, entrepreneurial people started to realize that apps were a vehicle to mean that you'll never have to open a map in the car again and look at it sideways or upside down, because you can just punch in where you're going and it'll take you there. Apps are a way that mean you never have to wait for a taxi again, because you can get Uber. Apps are a way that you never have to try and remember that great song that you're hearing in a restaurant because you got Shazam. So what's going to happen in the future is creative people are going to understand the technology and start to look at new and interesting ways that they can connect with fans in their home. And that's going to be around experiences for game day and every other day. And that's mapping out the 365 days of the year for a team or a league or a brand, and working through how they're going to connect with fans through this technology. And I'll leave you for any Cowboys fans at one of the versions we're working on at the moment. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Travis. I was with you until you put up the Cowboys at the end. Lots of great stuff in there as well. I mean, lots of